What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. How are ya? Howard Bender with me here, of course.
I need that video. I need the beginning of this tonight.
Howard Bender, Craig Mish here live for the Wager Alarm live stream Friday night ticket, baby. Hey, what's going on? There's Hayes, too. What are you doing over there, Hayes? Wave to the crowd.
All right, we're live. We're live.
We are live, so here we go.
What a great disaster this is to start this live stream.
There's nothing better than kicking things off in style.
We're very prepared. We are very prepared.
This is our goal to try and get this live stream viral. So it's, look at idiots just staring at each other.
The sad thing is that it's not the sad thing. The unfortunate thing is that we have people at home that are like waiting for our picks because they've done well with the last couple of years. They're like, we got Howard looking up like this. We got Greg's kid in the background talking about gambling.
What?
Got to start him early, Howard.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, if you guys have been tuning in all week, you tuned in on Tuesday. We talked about some of the lines that we thought were very interesting. Tonight's the night. We break it all down for you. 7 picks in the Golden Nugget Ultimate Football Challenge. 5 picks to be made in the Westgate Super Contest. I'll tell you, Craig, it was a rough time last week. I think we had many discussions throughout the week here about maintaining the process, doing the thing that we do. So in honor of that, we're obviously taking Army, and I'm wearing my Good Luck Army shirt for that, right? Just going back to week 1, week 2 here.
Well, so far so good with us on the season. We did have a little bit of a blip on the radar last week with really both college and pro, but over the course of the season, we're going to do this live stream. I think we have 16 or 17 weeks in the Golden Nugget, and then, of course, 17 weeks in the Super Contest. And let's get real for everybody who's listening. If you're watching anybody's live stream or paying attention to anybody's picks, if anybody goes 17 weeks of winning, they are not actually winning. I mean, they are going to be losing weeks on this live stream, and last week was our first one in 5 weeks. So, look, the previous week is not an indicator of a future week as it pertains to wagering. Everything is different. Every week is different. And so certainly we jump right back at it this week, no doubt about that. And again, a lot of the games last week could have come down to one possession or two. That's the way this is. We just have to kind of sort out some of the situations, both in college football and in the NFL. So we'll start with our college picks for the Golden Nugget contest. Howard and I are in that, and certainly you can go and check our record and follow along all season long. We'll try to get back on top this week. Where do you want to start? Which game?
Let's start right at the top of the page here, and that is Army, actually. +3, we're looking at them at home against Tulane. Listen, I've got no problem going back with Army. Run the ball heavy. They control the clock on a regular basis. I don't have much faith in Tulane at all, but I don't know. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, look, Tulane has had a better season than they've had in the past. They're a college that seems to be going in the right direction, and everyone remembers their signature win from a couple of weeks ago where they came back and beat Houston, and that kind of ended Houston's season more or less, although they went on the road last week and won big. We didn't expect that to happen. But Tulane had like this miracle win a couple of weeks ago, and then the quarterback for Houston, Derek King, decided to sit out the season. The receiver decided to sit out the season. And I think that that's kind of where the spread is living off a little bit on that. Now, Army's quarterback has been hurt, and it's kind of uncertain as to whether or not he's going to play in this game. But this is the one school that can kind of maintain that because the quarterbacks for a lot of the academies are just running the ball anyway. They're not really throwing. Army had that crazy winning streak going for a long period of time. It was snapped a couple of weeks ago against Michigan. They almost beat Michigan outright. We know how well they've played, and yet they're still getting points at home in this one because of the fact is that Tulane can throw the ball a little bit, and of course they can run the ball. So this is going to be a ball control type game, a lot of running on both sides. But look, you're the home team in your Army against teams with a winning record in their last 21 times. Army is 15-5-1 against the spread, so that certainly is a good number. And look, Tulane does get a lot of yards per play. They're 26th in the country, getting about 6 yards per play, but they haven't seen a defense like Army's. So I will say this could come down to a last play type field goal. The last time these two teams played, it did come right down to that. The game will be close, And provided that there isn't just some wacky turnover, I think Army has a really good shot of winning this game. They're the home team. They're getting points. That seems to be a good recipe in college football. So we'll take Army plus the 3 for pick number 1.
I like it a lot. Pick number 2, we're targeting against Virginia Tech. Here we go. We talked about the fact that there's a mass exodus of players with Virginia Tech. They just don't look good. We're actually laying points here, which, surprising to lay 13.5 here with Miami. But again, Virginia Tech, this program is just completely crumbling.
Yeah, it's been a mess for Virginia Tech all season long. Their defensive coordinator, Bud Foster, is going to retire at the end of the season. Their head coach, Justin Fuente, is definitely right on the chopping block in terms of being fired with all of the kids that left in the offseason. And then you combine that with them being 0-2 in the ACC. And last week, Virginia Tech lost to Duke 45-10. And the reason why is the Hokies are ranked 100th in the country in offense. Fuente earlier this week said they are not making a change at quarterback, but they're open to other quarterbacks potentially playing. So that means there could be 2 guys coming in and out. Ryan Willis, who's their starter. This will be the last year for him as starter probably. He's got 8 interceptions already this season. They only played a few weeks. And Miami's offensive line is the one issue, I think, a little bit, because if Virginia Tech is going to have a strength, it could be sacking Miami's quarterback, Jaron Williams. But he's thrown 7 touchdown passes this year and no interceptions. I guess you could look at it one way or the other, Howard. When you have 7 touchdowns and no picks and you're taking a lot of sacks, that's not necessarily a good thing, but it's better than throwing those pick sixes. So in all of my years watching college football, we're going back to Frank Beamer being the head coach there and Bud Foster, the defensive coordinator. I don't ever remember Virginia Tech being a 2-touchdown underdog to anyone, and I think that tells you how bad Virginia Tech is. Whether or not the kids have quit, I can't speak to that, but this will go a long way in determining that. And if you lose by 35 points to Duke, I think there's a good chance that Miami could roll like they rolled over some of the other teams they played over the last few weeks. So I like Miami in this one, and I like the fact that it's 13.5. They win by 2 touchdowns, we win. So we'll take Miami minus the 13.5 points. Last time we took a spread this big, the only other time this big this season, we lost. It was when Florida State played against Louisiana Monroe. They were 21-point favorites. They were up 28-0. And then Louisiana Monroe came all the way back. I don't think Virginia Tech's coming back in this game, but it could be a close one. And Miami could pull away late. So we'll take Miami minus 13.5, the biggest point spread of any team that we would have taken this season. Again, minus 21 with FSU. As you can tell by watching this live stream, we're not big fans of laying points. We're definitely not big fans of laying points on the road. But at home, if we're going to do it, this seems to be a good spot.
All right. And speaking of laying points at home, here we go. How about Kansas State going up against Baylor here? It's Kansas State -1. It's a virtual pick 'em here, taking that home team. Obviously, there's a little bit of respect being thrown opposite Kansas State here for Baylor. Otherwise, you'd see a standard 3-point spread here. So talk to me. How do you like Kansas State this much? They were good to us. They were definitely good to us a couple weeks ago when we took them to go into Mississippi State and just outright beat them. So
yeah, and then last week they played Oklahoma State and it didn't go well. But overall, they're showing a lot of improvement now, and they're 17-7 at home their last 24 games at home against the spread. Baylor is undefeated this season, and Matt Rule's doing a really good job rebuilding that program. It was a disaster a couple of years ago. But really, if you look at Baylor's record outside of a close win against Iowa State last week, they really haven't played anyone. So the keys to this game is K-State is really good against the pass and so-so against the run. But the last 12 times that these two teams have played, and they play every year, the home team has won 9 of those games. And this is not a big spread. We're only laying 2. Right now, if you were to bet the game, it's down to 1.5, so some money is coming in on Baylor. But Wildcats right now, K-State, they lead the Big 12 in turnover margin. They also lead in time of possession. And then there was one stat from last week's game against Oklahoma State that I want to bring up in this game because there's anomalies in college and pro football. And when you have 13 chances to get a first down on third down and you only convert 1, that's unlucky. That's not being bad. That's just unlucky. That's not something that's going to happen the whole season long. Now, remember, if they go from converting 1 of 13 to 4 of 13, that's a huge difference, and that's between covering the spread and losing. So K-State at home, not laying a lot of points. Could be a lower scoring game. But I still
at home. I got a frozen Craig here right now. All sorts of technical difficulties going on here. Am I even live? That's the good question there. There we go. You were frozen there for a few
Sorry
minutes.
there. Kansas State is the pick.
K-State, we're going with it. All right. All right, next game, the last game of college. We're actually diving into the top 25, something we really haven't done at all here. I wanted to take Iowa going into Michigan, actually winning this one. I'm getting 3.5 points here. This is more about a hatred for Michigan, and not like a hatred, but the team is not good. Harbaugh's on the hot seat. The alumni is looking for a reason to just get him out of there. Nate Stanley is healthy, is looking good in practices for Iowa. You're talking about just an overall a better team. For me, Iowa is the better team here. They've got the better defense, a much stronger defense than I think Michigan is really able to handle here. So I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take Iowa heading into Michigan here, and this could be the one that just seals the deal for Harbaugh.
Maybe so. Iowa's won 5 of the last 6 times these two teams have played. This does seem to be a sleepy noon game on the East Coast where the two teams will probably just punch each other in the mouth for a half, and then all of a sudden things open up in the second half. But with getting points and getting more than a field goal against a Michigan team that really over the past year has not proven very much, this does seem to be the right side here. And, of course, Stanley, even without Noah Fant and Hawkinson this season, has really played well at quarterback there. So we'll take Iowa plus the points this week.
Absolutely. So there you go. Those are the 4 college games we're talking here. Army +3, Miami minus 13.5, K-State -1, and then we're taking Iowa with the 3.5 points. The 4 games for college. Before we get to our pro games for the Golden Nugget, let me just give a shout out to our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight. You guys love daily fantasy sports? Yes, you do. So jump onto monkeyknifefight.com, fastest growing daily fantasy site on the planet. And right now, you can join Fantasy Alarm in a $2,000 DFS contest this week, where the winner will take home $100,000. How about that one?
Wow.
How about that one? Right? Get me in too. First time depositors also get 6 months free of the Fantasy Alarm Pro subscription and 100% deposit match up to $50. So play this week for your chance at $100,000 at fantasyalarm.com/monkey. That's fantasyalarm.com/monkey. All right, now let's move into the pro games here. Again, 4 college, 3 pro. We're going to start off with one that I actually started eyeballing on Tuesday, asked you about your thoughts. Jacksonville Jaguars. I like what the Panthers have been doing. I think the Panthers' luck is kind of running out. I think Kyle Allen did a great job in his debut. I think he made a lot of rookie mistakes, even though he's not a rookie technically, but a lot of mistakes in that second game there. They did manage to win against Houston, but he didn't look good during that game. And to sit there and say 13 to 16 points against Houston, that's not really putting up a whole hell of a lot. So for me, I'm looking at Carolina as the team that they are, the offense that they are. I think Jacksonville, even without Jalen Ramsey, who is out for this game, I think they still either keep this one tight or win it outright. So taking 3.5 points for the Jags on the road, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, it probably will be a close game and a defensive game. A couple of things that work for sure in Jacksonville's favor is the fact that you saw really, and what could end up being, Howard, a coming out party for Leonard Fournette. If this guy stays healthy and they give him 30 carries, I mean, he could do that every single week. It's just whether he's been hurt or they've pivoted over to try to get Bortles going. Now they don't have to do that anymore because Minshew looks like a very capable quarterback there for Jacksonville. So the other thing with Carolina is that Kyle Allen fumbled the ball 3 times last week. I'm sure he'll improve that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he wouldn't take more sacks. We just talked about that like with the University of Miami in terms of their quarterback. Maybe Allen is more careful with the ball, and that means holding the ball, and that means taking more sacks. We know Jacksonville's defense is also very good. So Jaguars really seem to be a team that's coming on. Carolina has played well the last couple of weeks. This is a pivotal game for both teams. The team that wins this game, you would be hard-pressed to say, does not make the playoffs because whoever wins is going to be putting themselves in a big spot here. But we don't need Jacksonville to win. I think we think they can win. It is a little fishy to me that the line isn't 3 and it just keeps pushing its way to 3.5. Why isn't it just 3 and make the game even? That's telling you that Carolina is a little bit better on paper than Jacksonville is. Still, 24-21 type game. We get the cover there. We'll take the Jaguars plus the points.
I love it. Next game we're taking the Minnesota Vikings, a team that we've been very up and down with here. Listen, all right, against the Giants, this again, like I just said to you about Michigan and my thoughts about them and Iowa being the better team, hands down, Minnesota is the better team against the New York Giants. The whole thing with the Giants and their defense completely overblown by playing this lopsided game against Washington, who was terrible. I mean, nightmarishly terrible. Why Janoris Jenkins was given the Defensive Player of the Week award? For what? There weren't any wide receivers for him to even cover. It was atrocious. And to me, I think that we're all kind of getting caught up in this Danny Dimes, this defense isn't so bad kind of New York hype, New York media. I think Minnesota, I think they straighten themselves out. I think Kubiak and Dennison get Dalvin Cook rolling nice and early. And then as soon as they build that lead, then they take a few more chances and try to keep quiet, keep Diggs quiet, keep Thielen quiet. Everybody gets a little taste. It's going to be like Kirk Cousins is actually going to be like Oprah here. You're going to be like, you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown. And here you go, Dalvin Cook. Here's 2 for you.
Are you sure it's not going to be you get a fumble and you get a pick?
No, I think, listen, I think they play smarter football in Minnesota than that, and I like them. I like them to beat the Giants by more than even just a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that for me, what the pick comes down to, and again, Howard and I talk about all these picks before we go on the air. It's not like we're just learning of what we're going to do. That'd be foolish considering the amount of money that we have on this. Minnesota is a perfect example. And go back and not just our live streams, but look historically in the NFL. When a team looks awful one week, it is really good to grab them the following week. The Browns were a perfect example of that last week. The Browns getting 7, went into Baltimore and just destroyed them. The week before, they were talking about firing Freddie Kitchens. What are you doing running on 4th down and 9? And now all of a sudden, the Browns are in first place. So I think that is the key point here. The Vikings literally played their worst game of the season possible on television last week against the Bears. It could not have gone worse. And those are the kind of teams that have talent, by the way, that you want to side with. I'm not saying that you should be taking the Dolphins or you should be taking the Redskins when they play awful because, again, there's no talent there. There's too much talent on the Vikings for them to not win this game by a touchdown. So we'll lay the points in this game, -5.
I like it. And then the third game here, we're going Big D, baby. Dallas, one of the late games here, hosting the Packers. Now we're laying 3.5 here, Craig. Listen, I think Dallas, that's another good example of what you were just talking about, in the sense that they look terrible against the Saints.
Terrible.
Now they're coming in here against the Packers, who don't have Devontae Adams, whose offense is good but not great. Their defense is good but not great. The secondary is better than the run defense. So, yeah, I think we're as much as it pains me to say anything positive about the Cowboys, and it really, it cuts.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite pick of the week. I think that Green Bay got a little exposed. I think that they were a little bit of a paper 3-0. And honestly, Adams is a huge loss near the red zone for that team. And I think you saw that a couple of weeks ago on Thursday night when he was out of the game late in the game. They threw the ball right off the defender, off Valdez-Scantling's hand. And Valdez-Scantling could be okay, and so could Geronimo Allison. I think Jimmy Graham is at the end, man. I didn't like what I saw with him dropping balls in the back of the end zone. I know he caught some when he was wide open. So this could end up being a one-possession game, and it could end up being close. But I feel a lot better about the Cowboys maybe a couple of days after than I did, just kind of thinking that the Saints may really have one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. They're playing fantastic. And the counter to that is, look, Dallas beat Washington. They beat the Giants. They really didn't beat any great teams. But in general, how often do you ever get the Cowboys at home laying less than like a touchdown, in just historically speaking in the NFL? I don't think this line in particular is inflated at all, probably because they're playing against Green Bay. I'm not a believer in the Packers. I think they could be okay this year, 9-7 team, 8-8 maybe. But if that run defense is going to look anything like it did a couple of weeks ago, this could be the big game for Zeke that we've been waiting for. And make no mistake about it, Dallas is not putting up 50 in any game. We know they run the ball a lot. They play that ball control type offense, but I think this game is probably close at the half, but Dallas runs away with it late, and we'll lay the 3.5 points and take them two rare favorites that we'll take. But this is only 3 points. I feel, or 3.5 points, but I do feel comfortable with this one.
All right. Well, so there you go for the Golden Nugget. It's Jaguars plus 3.5, Vikings minus 5.5, Dallas minus 3.5. Those go along with our 4 college picks. Golden Nugget Ultimate Football Challenge. Whoop, pushed aside. And now let's talk about the super contest for the Westgate. Now we are doing Jaguars again.
The same line.
It's the same line there. It's the same line for the Vikings, and it's the same line for Dallas.
Okay, so we're good. We're in the
taking
house
those 3 games. Now, the 2 games that we are looking for, we're going 1 favorite. We're going 1 dog here. What do you want, favorite or dog? Favorite or dog?
Either one, whichever way you want to start is fine.
All right, well, let's look at the Chicago Bears in London going up against the Oakland Raiders here. This is one where, defense prevails. Again, who knows what's going on over there in London? You're drinking those old British IPAs. It's like moonshine, baby. It's just gonna load you up. It's gonna weigh you down. Who knows what's going on there for them? But I mean, listen. Overall, on the field, product on the field, Bears are a superior team to the Raiders. A vastly superior team, and the defense is gonna contain them. So
and the Raiders, Howard. I don't know when they'll ever play at home again. I think they're on like a 5-game road swing. They go from Indianapolis, they didn't go home. They go to London. That's never a good recipe for success.
How do you not play this game? How do you send them to London and not send them to even just a college football stadium in Vegas? Let them play where UNLV's playing, right? Like, isn't it your goal to have the Raiders go to Las Vegas? Isn't that what we're all about?
Well, they go from Indy to London, so they didn't go home at all. They spend a week there. And in general, when you have a huge time difference, I suppose that's important. But in this particular case, I don't really like that travel schedule. I think the Bears did it better. They waited right up until like a day or two before, and they went. And again, if the game was in Chicago, I think the Bears would be 8 or 9 point favorites. So I think we're catching a little bit of a break with this being on a neutral site. I would expect an ugly game, but I feel like last week, the Raiders caught Indy in a really good spot, not having Leonard and not having T.Y. Hilton. Hilton, to me, is super important to Brissett, and I think that Leonard, from a defensive perspective, is as important to his defense as any other linebacker is in the NFL. Raiders don't have a ton of injuries, although Tyrell Williams is questionable, but I wouldn't make a huge deal out of that. I just think that Khalil Mack staring against his other team and giving this one shot to get back at his guys and say, look what you gave up. I don't think he's going to miss out on that opportunity. I think the Bears just punched them in the mouth. I could see like a 20-3 type game, a game you don't want to watch on TV, and that is ugly, but I don't give the Raiders a chance in this one.
All right. And then the last game that we're looking at taking for the super contest here, taking the Falcons on the road. They're getting 5 points. I know. But here's the thing, and because you actually brought this game up to me on Tuesday, and I immediately did exactly what you just did. I was like, but then I kind of dove into it a little bit more. And let's just face it right now. Dan Quinn is definitely on the hot seat here. Dirk Cutter on the hot seat as well as his offensive coordinator. On the other side there with Houston, that offensive line is atrocious. Bill O'Brien, also somebody who people are going to start asking questions about if he doesn't get this offense going. This is 2 teams right now who have struggling secondaries, who have high-caliber offenses that are sputtering right now. And I think that this game actually turns into a little bit of a shootout. I know the over-under on this one, I think, is 49? I think it's the second highest on the slate for 49 points.
Okay. I'll check. 50.
It's up to 50 already.
Yeah. Colts Chiefs will be the highest without looking. I'm gonna guess
Colts Chiefs. Yeah, Colts Chiefs. I'm seeing at 56.5, but 49.5. So it's up to 50 on this one. Which, I mean, again, I think this is a game that just goes back and forth. I don't think that this is a game that a team just wins outright. I don't think there's a big lead. I think it's a slugfest and it's back and forth. And because of that, I'll take the points that I'm getting at 5. I think that that's probably the safer route for me.
Yeah, the Falcons are kind of like Tennessee in a way where you don't know what they're really going to do on a week-to-week basis. Tennessee a couple of weeks ago going into Thursday Night Football, as an example, were the favorites at Jacksonville. And Jacksonville, it just wasn't really close. Like, the Jaguars just showed that they were the better team, and I think they were the better team than over Tennessee. But Tennessee tends to show up for a while during the season. Atlanta, Howard, the underlying stats for Atlanta across the board make them like a top 15 team in the NFL. Is it coaching? Is it tackling? Are there things that we're not seeing? I'm not sure, but you look at the stat sheet for Atlanta each and every week and you go, oh, yeah, they won. Oh, no, they didn't. Oh, yeah, they won. Oh, no, they didn't. I mean, it's a little baffling for me to see them playing with all that talent that they have. And I'm not a big Freeman guy anymore. I think he's toward the end of his career, but his stats are good. And Julio is great. And Calvin Ridley's stats are good. And Hooper had a great game last week. And Matt Ryan is still a good quarterback. Now, look, their defense isn't good. I'm not trying to pretend like it is. In fact, I saw a video Brian Baldinger posted, just some ugly looking video of conversions on like 3rd down and 15 about how the defense didn't know where they were. But the one thing I take exception to is I don't think Houston has a dynamic offense. I think their offense is okay, but they don't have a good offensive line. They don't have a great running game. And what teams have been able to do is say that Hopkins guy is not going to do anything, and we're just going to let everybody else do it. In the last couple of weeks, that's worked. I have a strange feeling Houston wins this game in a way that just makes you go, oh, the Falcons blew it. But this is a lot of points, and I think Houston comes out of this game with a 1-point win and just is jumping up and down, going, yeah, we won. But it just felt like there were too many points at the beginning. This was probably going to be my favorite pick of the week. But the line didn't move at all. Like, it didn't creep down toward Atlanta a little bit, and it didn't go toward Houston. So there's like a 50-50 split in this one. I have a feeling that when the Super Contest comes out tomorrow, Howard, I think Atlanta's going to be near the top, which has me a little bit scared on a pick like this. But I will say, in an NFL game, when two teams look more or less even, I think you got to take, if it was 3 points, I wouldn't be interested. But I am interested in 5 points. So we'll take Atlanta as our final pick of the week.
All right, and there you go, guys. Those are our Super Contest picks. Bears -5.5, Jags +3.5, Vikings -5.5, Falcons +5, Cowboys -3.5. Any of the other games that you were looking at there, Craig? Were you kind of wavering?
Well, I mean, not necessarily for picks. I like Cincinnati to bounce back. Another favorite rare. By the way, the line is 4 now, Houston over Atlanta, but that makes me feel actually better about this. But Cincinnati against Arizona, the world's going to take Arizona in this game. Like, oh, Cincinnati, they look so bad on Monday night, but I don't think Arizona is very good either, so I would lean toward that. I don't have a good feel for the Bucs and Saints because I thought the Saints looked great. I don't believe the Bucs are for real. A lot of smart people think Tampa wins this game. I don't know. I'm just simply passing on that one. You and I agree we're never laying 2 touchdowns in any game in the NFL. We're just not going to do it. Eagles are -14 against the Jets. Ravens Steelers. Wow, what a tough game that one is to call. My initial thought was Baltimore, but the way that this line sticks, it kind of makes me feel like Pittsburgh could be the play here. Buffalo, Tennessee, there's no advantage in this game. New England's -15.5 at Washington. We toyed around with the idea of maybe taking Denver on the road at the Chargers. The Chargers, Howard, as we've illustrated and talked about through the years, fantastic as a dog, horrible as a favorite, and they're a 6-point favorite this week. Again, Chargers as a dog, take them. Chargers as a favorite, never cover. This is the story going on. Sunday night, we don't have any interest in the Colts and Chiefs. I don't have any interest in that.
None.
And then Monday night is a good game and a really tough one to call because I would lean toward Cleveland against San Francisco because I don't think that they are legit. But, and you could speak to this more, I don't know, but they're saying that this is going to be the most people in that stadium since it's opened coming into Monday night because of the way that the 49ers have played and how jacked up everybody is. And by the way, coming off a bye week too, that's kind of huge also. So I'm just throwing that game out there as well. I would have leaned Cleveland, but there's a lot of intangibles on the side of San Francisco.
Yeah, too many intangibles. And a lot of it has to do with San Francisco's defense. I mean, not a lot of people have a lot of faith in the offensive weapons. Are still kind of up in the air. Who the top receivers on this team? Who's going to be in the backfield? What kind of a role is Tevin Coleman going to have? So I look at that game and that's San Francisco. If they are going to win it, they are going to win it with defense there.
Sure.
And I just, again, that's a game that I just don't feel like I just don't feel like comfortable.
No, but a
that.
good game to watch. I think
Sure.
This is the Monday night. We're lucky the last 2 Thursday night games have been good. In general, the Sunday night games have been good. I'm not sure we'll get that this week, but that Monday night game is one that I'll be curious about.
I'll jump onto Monkey Knife Fight and play some prop games for it.
There you go. So good luck this week. Let's hope we knock them down.
Back on track, baby. Back on track.
I think we'll be good this week. I mean, we can't go 17 weeks and have winning weeks in 17 weeks. I guess you can, but it's almost impossible. So we're not gonna say that we will.
There you go. All right, that's gonna do it for us here at the Wager Alarm live stream. Big thanks to our producer Matt Sells. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.